Hey guys, welcome back to another review. Today I'm just doing a fun little video on all of my Xevoz figures. I just completed this collection, which I was really excited about. It's taken a long time to do this. So I just wanted to share each figure with you. You know, if you're curious what all the figures look like or wanting to start your own collection of these figures, I would highly recommend getting into these guys. They're really fun to collect and really cool figures. So yeah, let's get started. Right now I've got the first wave on display here, and I'll just briefly go over each figure. So we're going to start out with this one here. This is Alpha Ranger. This was actually my first one that I got a long time ago. And this is the one that got me into this line of toys. So that's Alpha Ranger, and you can see his box behind. Next up is Skulljack. So there he is, a really cool figure. Alright, we've got Razor Claw. This is one of my favorites. I love this one. So if you don't know, Xevoz is a line of toys. They're buildable and fully customizable as well. You can interchange all of pieces between different sets. So you can really customize them, and they're just really fun to build. The next one is Sledge Trooper, and this one is really awesome. I've always loved him a lot. And once again, if you're not familiar with Xevoz, there are different classes within this toy line. So we've got this one, for example, is part of the Biomecha class. Meta Beast, Unnatural, and the Neo-Sapiens are kind of like the humans. And then there's also the Hyper Furies. So this is Inferno Fury. These are like the elemental guys. This one is one of my all-time favorites. I love Inferno Fury. I love the translucent pieces. So cool. Alright, and then the last two that are part of this wave are Shadow Blade and Bone Cutter. And that's a Neo-Sapien, and Bone Cutter is part of the Sectoid class, which are obviously the insects. They didn't make too many of these ones, unfortunately. But this is another favorite. I love Bone Cutter a lot. And Shadow Blade is another favorite. I love this guy a lot. I love how he's portrayed as like this high-tech ninja. Kind of reminds me of Snake Eyes a little bit from G.I. Joe. And this is a 2-pack, as you can see from the box. Alright guys, so that is wave 1. Let's move on now to wave 2. Alright, so here is wave 2. A pretty solid wave with some great figures. Although I will admit, I think wave 2 is probably my least favorite out of the 4 waves that were made, but that's just my personal opinion. So starting out on the right here, you can see 2 massive boxes here. These were called value packs, and I'm not quite sure if they were technically part of wave 2. They were kind of like wave 1.5. Seemed like they were kind of off on their own, but I've included them here in wave 2. So starting out on the right is Omega Guard. He's a Neo-Sapien, and you can see he looks very similar to Alpha Ranger from wave 1. And what's interesting is he's got some Biomecha parts here that you can mix in there. So that's what I've done. Thought that looked pretty cool. And you can see inside the box he's got a ton of extra Biomecha parts there from Looks like Sledge Trooper. So that's pretty cool. And then the same thing here with this figure. This is Grim Skull. And what's unique about him is he's got unnatural parts and also Hyper Fury parts. So I've mixed in those two classes there for an interesting mix. And those parts are identical to Inferno Fury, except the coloring is different. So those are the two value packs. And now moving on to the actual Wave 2 figures, we've got another sectoid. Actually, this is the last sectoid that was made. They only made 2. This is Dune Stinger. And he's really awesome. It's like a scorpion. Love those claws, and then his tail. Really nice. Okay, we've got another Hyper Fury. This is Shock Berserker. This is a very interesting figure. But I love how he looks. All right, next up we've got Sky Grinder, another Neo-Sapien. And this one's all right. I'll admit he's not my favorite, but he's got some interesting parts there. I like the roller skates. And I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you already know a lot about Xevoz, but if you don't, then these spinners were for a game that was also included with these figures. So that's what those are, in case you were wondering, if you didn't know already. All right, and then the last pack here is another 2-pack with an unnatural and a meta beast. We've got Chemogoblin. It's a very, very unnatural looking figure. He's like a vampire. And then a werewolf. This is Moonstalker. And that one's really nice. All right, guys, so that's Wave 2. And let me bring out Wave 3 now. Okay, so Wave 3, in my opinion, is the coolest wave that they made. There are a ton of figures here, and unfortunately, most of these are incredibly rare. Wave 3 has the rarest figures. I guess that's because of low production. So yeah, let's jump right in. We're gonna start all the way on the right with a Neo-Sapien. This is Shield Breaker. This is a favorite of mine. I really love this guy. Love all the armor pieces on him. Okay, next up is Stormwing. This was the last one that I needed to complete the collection, so I just got him a few months ago. I was really excited about that. This one is very, very hard to find, but a beautiful figure. I love him a lot. I love those wings. All right, another really hard one to get a hold of these days is Tomb Wraith, an unnatural. This is another skeleton, very similar to Grim Skull, but I think he's a lot cooler in my opinion. I love those orange wings and the sword with the flames on it and the fire gauntlets. Overall, that's a really great one. All right. Next up is an awesome one. This is Quickslinger, a Neo-Sapien. Obviously, he is a cowboy. And look at the size of those revolvers. Really incredible. I love the imagination with this figure. That is definitely a favorite of mine. I love that one so much. And he's also very hard to get a hold of. Next up is Crip Curse. I would argue this is definitely, I would say maybe the second hardest Xevoz figure to get a hold of. This one is so hard to find. I just got him last year, and I was really excited. But he's a mummy, part of the unnatural class, and really cool. I love how he looks. Alright guys, and this right here, this 2-pack in my opinion is the hardest Xevoz figure to get a hold of. I would say this is the holy grail for Xevoz collectors. This is Cryo Katana and Crawler, a Hyper Fury, and a Biomecha. These two are nearly impossible to find anywhere these days. It took me years to finally track this down, and I'm talking about brand new. If you want these guys brand new, it is going to be really difficult to find them. And even used, they're really expensive. So, alright, well here is Crawler. This one's awesome. Such a unique and very creepy looking figure, but I love the legs and the very creepy pale skin parts here. He's half human and half robot, but really love him. And then we've got Cryo Katana. This is the last Hyper Fury that was made, unfortunately. There were only 3. But he's really cool. I love, once again, those translucent pieces. Those always get me. Love the katana, hence the name. Overall, that's definitely another favorite of mine. These two are great figures. Alright, next up is another 2-pack. That's also a difficult one to get. We've got Street Punk and Neo-Sapien. He's a pretty cool figure, not my favorite, but he's pretty nice. And then Scorcher. And what's really cool about this guy, he's a Biomecha. You can transform him. He's kind of like a Transformer, honestly. You can transform him into, as you can see on the box, like an ATV vehicle. And you can even make Street Punk ride him, which is pretty cool. So that's a nice one. And then lastly, here's an interesting set. This is Iron Specter, an unnatural. He's like a ghoul or something, but he's really cool. I like the armor a lot on him. And what's neat about this one, as you can see by the box, which is massive, this is, it contains the board game with extra maps and everything for the game. So that's pretty cool. Alright guys, so that is wave 3. I would say this is the best wave that they made. You got some great figures here, all of which are really unique. Alright guys, well lastly we're going to move on to wave 4, so stay tuned. Alright guys, well this is the final wave that was made. Unfortunately, the Xevoz line was canceled after this. So these are the last figures that they ever made, which is a shame, since they actually had more figures already pretty much close to the final stages of production, but it got canceled before they were released, unfortunately. So these are the last ones. And we're going to start out on the right again with the last Biomecha. This is Infiltrator, a really interesting and cool figure. I like this one a lot. He looks very stealthy. Definitely a favorite. And then next up is the last unnatural. This is Frankenpunker, a very unique figure. I like the axe a lot, and I've got him with his mask on. As you can see on the box, he comes with an electric guitar. There are tons of extra pieces that I'm not showing you that are inside of the box, but this is just my preferred look for each figure. Okay, and then the last Neo-Sapien made was Hyper Guardian. He's like your typical superhero, and I've got to say, I really like this one. I didn't think I would at first when I got him. I thought he seemed kind of boring, but honestly, I think he's one of my favorites. I really like the muscular body and the sword, and I love that translucent fist piece. Really, really cool. Okay, and then the last meta beast made was Thunder Shaman, a huge gorilla. This is a massive figure, very muscular. Wouldn't want to mess with this guy, but I love his weapons a lot, the spear and the sword. It comes with a ton of pieces, so that's a great one there. Okay, and then lastly, this is a really interesting 2-pack. They introduced 2 new classes into the Xevoz line, which, like I said, unfortunately got canceled, so these are the only 2 of their kind. We've got Rune Slayer. He was part of the Arcaster class, which was like magicians. Almost, they kind of look like elves. At least that's what they remind me of. And then this is Fire Drake, part of the Reptosaur class, which would be the like dragons, and I think that they were gonna introduce like a turtle into the line before it got canceled. So I guess the like reptiles. All right, but here is Fire Drake, and this is definitely a favorite. I love this figure. Comes with a ton of stuff here, as you can see, a ton of armor and massive weapons. It's just so cool having like the classic dragon figure in the lineup here. And then this one I also really love. I would say he's a favorite. This is Rune Slayer. Like I said, he's like a magician. All of his weapons are very magical looking. Really cool spear, and that sword is amazing. And I like the armor a lot too. Alright guys, well that is a look at all of my Xevoz figures and all the Xevoz figures that were ever made and released. It's a shame that this line was canceled. It only lasted for like 2 years, but I am very glad that they were able to put out at least 4 waves. There were a lot of figures made here. They definitely could have done more, so it's a shame that they got canceled prematurely like that. But it's a very obscure toy line. I think you either get it or you don't, you know. It seems to have a very cult, like a cult following. So like I said, you either love them or you don't. I really love them. I think they're so unique and really fun to collect. I really love the boxes too. They're very colorful. Overall, it's just such a unique toy line, and I can't recommend getting into these figures enough. If you're interested, just I would recommend picking up one of the cheap ones. You can get some of the figures from Wave 1 for pretty cheap. You know, start out with one of those and see how you like them. They are really cool and just so fun to collect. So, all right, guys. Well, if I had to choose, I would say, yeah, Wave 3 is my favorite, followed by Wave 1, and then Wave 4, and then Wave 2 would be my least favorite. But that is my personal ranking of the waves. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to do this, and I'm so happy to finally have all the Xevoz figures in my collection. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.